Another loss for the Marlins in which the offense was just non-existent.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 3 seasons now. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And on today's show, I'm going to talk about the loss to the Cubs. The offense just is abysmal. It continues to stay in this rut. How can the Marlins get out of it? Who is going to bring the spark and get the Marlins to be adequate offensively? I'm going to talk about Cal Quantrill, another short start from him. I think there's better options out there for the Marlins at this point, and the impact of Dane Myers' injury. But before all that, I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The Marlins are playing some rough baseball in Chicago. First, they're on the south side. They're playing the White Sox, a team that I maintain they should have beat and took 2 out of 3 from. But instead, it was the other way around. They lost that series. They head up to Wrigley Field, the friendly confines, and it wasn't so friendly for them, at least in the first game. They lose 5-2. The Cubs put up one big inning. The 5th inning, Cal Quantrill runs into a bit of trouble. Anthony Veneziano comes in. He runs into some trouble. The Cubs hit 2 homers, and all of a sudden it's 5-0. In the blink of an eye, it looked like Cal Quantrill was pitching adequately and doing just enough, but that 5th inning, things started to unravel for the fish. You're down 5-0. The offense isn't doing anything. Dane Myers, though, not Dane Myers, Derek Hill, who came back off of the injured list and replaced Dane Myers, who is now on the injured list. More on him later. He hit a 2-run home run. It got the Marlins semi back into the ball game, but it wasn't enough. They didn't do anything apart from that, and they lose. 2 runs isn't going to cut it. The Marlins have to find something offensively. Where can they turn to? It's not going to be Dane Myers because he's injured. He's on the IL. That's a brutal blow to a lineup that has slowly started to kind of fall off. And you want to recorrect everything, get back on cruise control before the whole operation goes off the rails here. Agustin Ramirez, he's going to have his ups and downs. The talent is still there. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about Connor Norby in the grand scheme of things. He's riding a 7-game hit streak into Tuesday's game. But I am worried about the overall consistency of this team. If you've watched or listened to the podcast, you will hear me talk about the lack of power on this team. And not to sound like a broken record, but it's becoming more and more of a problem as the season continues. Matt Mervis and Kyle Stowers each have 7 homers, and Matt Mervis is a DFA candidate, in my opinion. That should kind of tell you where this Marlins lineup sits in terms of the slug. They're not getting the power needed to compete with teams like the Dodgers, with teams like the Cubs. These teams that can hit the ball out of the ballpark on a consistent basis. It's going to take a perfect game offensively in which you're hitting with runners in scoring position, you're drawing out at-bats, you're making the opposing pitcher work. The Marlins made Colin Rea look like a potential Cy Young candidate. It's not going to work for you. Somebody's got to step up to the plate. Kyle Stowers has been the Marlins offense this season. He's been great. He is playing himself into all-star consideration, but it can't just be him. I had extremely high expectations for Xavier Edwards. And he made a really bad mistake in today's game in which he gets on base. There's runners on the corners, first and third, with 2 outs, and he gets picked off. That cannot happen. That is just an automatic, just punch to the gut for the Marlins. You have an opportunity to go take the lead, and you don't get it done. You get picked off. That's a self-inflicting wound, and Clayton McCullough has to chew him out for that. He has to be held accountable. Xavier Edwards, he's too good of a base runner to make that mistake. Can't get picked off, especially by a right-hander. Colin Rea, he doesn't have some sort of elite, move to the plate or to first base, an elite pickoff move. But you watch the replay, and Xavier Edwards is just leaning towards second base. It didn't make any sense. It was a very, very bad play from a base runner who should be at the league lead in stolen bases. That can't happen. I'm looking up and down this lineup. Ronnie Simon, he's a role player. Graham Pauley, really good defensively, by the way. He made 2 plays in the game tonight in which I was like, wow, that is a great defender at third base. He got the start in place of Connor Norby. Norby later pinch hit in the game in the 9th inning and got a hit, which was to continue his hitting streak. But Graham Pauley, he's just not getting the consistent playing time to get into a rhythm, to get into a groove and produce. It might benefit him if he's getting those at-bats in AAA, because I'm still a believer in his swing. I do like how his swing looks, but the eye test is telling me he's not seeing pitches well. He needs to make a couple adjustments here and there. The defense is good, yes, but when Connor Norby is starting pretty much every night at third, you have to mix in Graham Pauley to keep his bat semi-fresh, and even then it's not enough. Liam Hicks, I do want to mention Liam Hicks hit a single 107 miles an hour. He's been a really nice surprise for this Marlins team. I want to see him in the lineup more, whether that's at catcher or DH or even an experiment here, first base. I don't know if he's ever worked at first base, but being a catcher, that could be something that they work on with him and give him an opportunity to get him in the lineup more, because Liam Hicks has been really, really good at the plate when he gets his opportunities, especially for a catcher. What hasn't been good, though, has been the start to Cal Quantrill's Marlins tenure. And although it wasn't his worst start of the season, it just isn't cutting it. For your one free agent signing, Cal Quantrill is not doing enough. I'm going to talk about him and his outing against the Cubs right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players for you are showing up in the brightest and best moments? For me, it's Jalen Brunson. Watch the end of that Celtics and Knicks game. Jalen Brunson was on his A game. He's putting up a ton of points. So a suggestion would be Jalen Brunson in terms of the over when it comes to his scoring line. And for example, if you put your first $5 bet into FanDuel and it wins on that Jalen Brunson prop bet, you could win $200 in bonus bets. So that's a really good incentive as well. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet win. And if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you're an everyday listener, thank you for being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. And if this is your first episode, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other future episodes. Now, Cal Quantrill got the start in the opening game of this series in the Windy City against the Cubs, and it wasn't an awful start. He's pitched worse. He's pitched a lot worse this season, but it still is just subpar given the role he's expected to have and carry on for the entirety of 2025. You know, when Cal Quantrill was signed and the Marlins hadn't made a free agent move all season, all off season, and they bring in Cal Quantrill for $3.5 million, it seemed like a good opportunity for him and for the Marlins for him to have a rebound year, an opportunity to prove it. He took that 1-year deal and he's come over to Miami. It's been nothing short of a disaster. And he was a really good pitcher for a while in Cleveland. It's just not clicking for him. He doesn't have the swing and miss stuff. He generated 4 whiffs in 4 1/3. He wasn't missing bats, only had 1 strikeout. And he ran his pitch count so high and got into trouble in the 5th inning, gave up a home run. Clayton McCullough pulls him. He doesn't complete 5 innings. Cal Quantrill was brought in for 2 reasons: to be a mentor and to also eat innings. And that second part is the number 1 reason by far. You wanted to bring in a veteran, a cheap arm, who may not give you a ton of effectiveness, but he was going to give you a solid 5-6 innings game in and game out. That is not what's happening. Cal Quantrill consistently is getting bounced from games below 5 innings, under 5 innings. How much longer are the Marlins going to put up with this? The Marlins have Adam Mazur waiting in AAA. He's already debuted last season with the Padres. I believe that Adam Mazur has gotten infinitely better since his cup of coffee with the Padres. It's a completely different pitcher and in a completely different environment than the Adam Mazur you saw struggle early on in 2024. How much worse can it get? At the very least, I think Adam Mazur brings a little bit of juice to this rotation, something that's been struggling. The facet of this team that has struggled the most has been the starting rotation, without a doubt. Cal Quantrill is a big part of that. Adam Mazur can bring some energy and hopefully some better outings than what Cal Quantrill has done. Now, do you DFA Cal Quantrill? If it warrants a statement to the organization and the team, then you could. I don't see them doing it. But I'd rather have Valente Bayozo stick in the rotation than Cal Quantrill. You know, Ryan Weathers is coming back for Wednesday's start. It's his first start of the season. He was terrific last year before he got hurt. He's been on the injured list all of 2025 up to this point. But Ryan Weathers will stick in the rotation, potentially replacing Valente Bayozo. But Cal Quantrill isn't somebody that should just be penciled into the rotation because he was a free agent starter. I don't think that's how it should work. I think you need to earn your spot. Nothing is given to you. And right now, anytime Cal Quantrill takes the mound, it's just a complete lack of confidence that I have in him. And I know he pitched well against the Dodgers, and I think that kind of lessens the brutality of the feeling that I have towards Cal Quantrill. It lessens the blow, and I'm not going to harp on him too much, but I like that start against LA. And then he goes out and has a pitch count of 83 against the Cubs. There has to be better performances across the board. Right now, this rotation is is lacking in talent. It's just how it is. Max Meyer is great, but he's slowing down. He's running into a little bit of trouble. He's come down to earth. Sandy Alcantara has yet to pitch like Sandy Alcantara. You saw glimpses of it against the White Sox, and then that one bad inning, one bad pitch, the ERA is still super high. Connor Gillespie to start the season, they quickly optioned him when they realized, this isn't working out. And Cal Quantrill feels a lot like Connor Gillespie than somebody like Sandy Alcantara, who I know can turn it around and be a productive player and pitcher. Moving forward, how much longer is Cal Quantrill's leash? I don't have a problem with parting ways with a player who's ineffective when the alternative is that he's holding a spot that can go to somebody younger and somebody with more talent. And that's what I feel is happening right now at the major league level. Cal Quantrill's taking a rotation spot that could be Adam Mazurs or Jansen Junks, somebody else's who could give you better results. It's as simple as that. Pitching for the Marlins has been a strength for years. It has not been this season, and it's kind of weird to think about. I mean, for the last 10 years, it's felt like, well, maybe not 10. Because I remember those Giancarlo Stanton years. They did not have good pitching. But, since 2021, since the emergence of Sandy Alcantara, the Sandy Alcantara era, I'll call it, pitching has been the strength. They've turned out guys like Pablo Lopez. They've had, Braxton Garrett, bringing in talent like Ryan Weathers, Jesus Luzardo. Think about all those guys I mentioned. Braxton Garrett, injured. Ryan Weathers, been injured. Jesus Luzardo, traded. I mean, it's definitely taken a blow, and it's all kind of come full circle when it comes to the depth of this team. The pitching staff in particular, the depth was lacking, and that is evident this season in 2025. Cal Quantrill was brought in for depth, to be that innings eater, to replace the production and the innings that Braxton Garrett and Jesus Luzardo and those guys left behind. And it hasn't worked out. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about Dane Myers' injury. Now, offensively, Dane Myers has been one of the bright spots of this Marlins team and was having a breakout season. And now it's going to have to be paused for a little bit as he goes on the injured list. Unfortunately, how will the Marlins replace his production? That's coming up right after this. Remember that if you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But if you're on the go, Locked On Marlins is on pretty much every podcast platform out there, so you can listen to the show as well. Now, the return of Derek Hill is nice. I like Derek Hill. I think he brings athleticism to center field. He's a good story. He's had a lot of opportunities. He's found one in Miami. He had a really good spring training, and he was off to a rough start at the plate, but he hit a 2-run home run tonight, and hopefully that translates some momentum into his season. But the corresponding move for Derek Hill to be put on the team again off the injured list was Dane Myers got placed on the injured list. I really hated to see that because Dane Myers was having a breakout season. Somebody that I felt like just was on fire. I mean, he was hitting everything. You look at the fastballs, he was crushing fastballs, he was hitting breaking balls. I mean, Dane Myers was looking really, really good. And now he has back discomfort. He's placed on the injured list, and he's set for an MRI. So we don't know right now if the damage is severe, if he's going to be out for a long period of time. It's kind of a waiting period right now, at least until hopefully Tuesday, whenever we get the results, whenever that is done. But it's a blow to the Marlins. Dane Myers was playing every day in center field. He was a really good center fielder. Now, I want to say Derek Hill plays really good center field too. The Marlins aren't going to miss. Well, they're going to miss Dane Myers, but they're not going to suffer a steep drop in production defensively, because Derek Hill has made some really good plays out in center field. You think back to earlier this season against the Mets to close out a game. I mean, he can fly. He's got a ton of speed. Now, it just comes down to hitting. He was dealing with that wrist injury. Maybe that affected his swing. He had some discomfort before he was placed on the injured list. But Derek Hill is somebody that is going to have an extended role now with Dane Myers out. Those are two outfielders, arguably two of the three best outfielders that the Marlins have had in 2025 now, that are injured. Griffin Conine is out for the season, dislocated his shoulder. Dane Myers has an opportunity to play every day in center field. It looks like he's going to stick there for the foreseeable future. And now he is dealing with a back injury. And hopefully it's not serious and he's back in a week and a half, and this point can be considered a moot point. But in the meantime, the Marlins are going to have to replace his offensive production. Javier Sanoja is the guy that comes to mind as well. I want to see Javier Sanoja collect some of those at-bats, whether that's in center field. He swings from the right side of the plate, like Derek Hill. But Sanoja, I just like his style of play. He can play all over the diamond. He can play in the outfield and play center field if you need him to. Has a ton of great contact and has been pretty good this season in the opportunities that he's been given. That's what I think has kind of defined this Marlins team, offensively at least, is the fact that they have a bunch of different pieces who aren't getting the opportunity to showcase what they have every single day. And that's due in part to the fact that they don't profile as an everyday player. You know, Liam Hicks, he's been great. He's been a really good hitter when he gets his opportunities for a catcher. But there's two other catchers on the roster right now, Nick Fortes and Agustin Ramirez. That's why I like when Liam Hicks is in the lineup and DHing. I prefer Liam Hicks over Nick Fortes right now. I'm going to say that. I have Agustin Ramirez 1, Liam Hicks 2, Nick Fortes. I'm okay with being phased out of the Marlins' plans for the time being. Of course, that's not going to be the case right now because of the value Fortes brings to working with the pitching staff. Ronnie Simon is another guy. He can play the infield when Javier Sanoja, you want to play him in center. Remember, second base, the incumbent starting second baseman, Otto Lopez, is on the injured list also with an ankle injury. So Javier Sanoja, Ronnie Simon, those guys will fill that gap at second. In center field, I expect it to be Derek Hill. I expect it to be Javier Sanoja. And maybe Jesus Sanchez, if they want to continue that experiment. I still think Sanchez is limited to right field, maybe left field, and also DH. I've seen the Marlins play Eric Wagaman in left. If they want to do that, they could move Kyle Stowers to center. There's different pieces that Clayton McCullough can move around on the chessboard and create an operation that stays intact. I don't think it's the end of the world for the Marlins offensively because, you know, although Dane was really, really good and it hurts, collectively this Marlins team was starting to fade anyway offensively. I just want this team to compete. That's kind of what it comes down to. Provide more power in the lineup and get some hits with runners in scoring position. That's what it comes down to. But right now the Marlins are 10 games under 500. You have the Cubs for another 2. I really don't want to get swept. Getting swept would really be demoralizing. I think getting swept in baseball is one of the worst feelings in sports. You can take a loss or two here and there, but you get swept, it's a wasted series. At least salvage one game against the Cubs. Even in like the NFL, you lose a game, it's just one game. Now you go on a long losing streak, it is what it is. We've seen teams go on long losing streaks. Look at the White Sox from a season ago. Hopefully, it doesn't get that bad for the Marlins. But I just have this vendetta against getting swept. I hate it. It's a very uncomfortable feeling as a Marlins fan because I've seen plenty of them. But 10 games under 500, they battle. I know this team battles. This team fights. But it's hard to win games when you're going to be out-talented and out-slugged. And your pitching staff doesn't really give you a fair shot compared to the others. Like Colin Ray's start, he pitches into the 7th. He was throwing up zeros up until that last Derek Hill home run. I would take that. Like, Cubs fans, be grateful for that. Too many starts I've seen this season, the Marlins starters aren't doing their jobs. Valente Bayozo is going to take the mound on Tuesday night. I hope it's not, Tuesday. I hope it's not his last start of the season. I really don't. Not the season, but for the future, if Ryan Weathers takes his spot in the rotation. I like Valente Bayozo. I think he pitched really well against the Dodgers. And when he's on and he's locating and hitting his spots, he can make things work. He brings passion to the mound. He brings an energy to the mound. And yeah, he might not be a superstar out there. He might be a placeholder in the long-term scheme of things. But I like Bayozo. He's had some really good outings so far in his major league career. And when he locates and sequences, it's really hard for opposing batters to time him up and just knock them all around the ballpark. Those starts can happen with a soft tosser. And it will happen. It has happened against somebody that pitches like him. But for Valente Bayozo, let's go out there and have a really good start and execute your pitches. Offensively, what do I want to see for these last two games against the Cubs? I want to see power. I want to see a game in which the Marlins hit multiple home runs. When's the last time that's happened? I'm trying to think. It was the A's series, I believe. But that was a fun series. I was at that series. But the Marlins, gotta provide some power. They gotta provide some juice because the Cubbies have it. You have players like Kyle Tucker, PCA, Seiya Suzuki. Some damage is going to get done. Marlins have to stay within striking distance and have somebody come up with a big hit and then a second big hit and make the Cubs pay and go out and get a dub or two. Maybe they can take the series. You always got to have hope. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.